Hey guys, I'm back with another solo advice video, and this time I'm going to be talking about Off the Hook by Jeff Jarvis. This song is rad. I love this tune. And using iReal Pro just makes things a lot easier. So a couple of things to just double check. When you're in iReal Pro, make sure that you are using the correct transposing instrument. I'm playing piano, so it's set to C. However, if you're playing trumpet or tenor, or apparently soprano, then that would be B flat. Bari and alto are E flat. We don't have any F horn or a G flute. Flute would also be in the key of C, of course. Once that is set, then we want to turn on our chord scales. Up here in the window, there's this little option for chord scales to pop up. This is going to be helpful. Now the chords in this tune are a little bit different. And I just want to break them down real quick. If you haven't noticed already, one letter is C9 sus, the other letter is D9 sus. The difference between these two letters is that they are literally a whole step apart. Nothing else happens except for those two chords. What would seem so simple is actually pretty hard to do. And I'm not trying to intimidate you, but I just want you to understand that having one chord for 4 measures and then moving to another chord that sounds so similar for the next 4 measures is actually pretty hard to do when you're soloing because you might run out of ideas. Another tricky part about this is that according to the chord, it says sus. And if you didn't already notice here in this chord, we have our 1, 4, 5, flat 7, 9. There's no 3. Now in the scale, the 3 is there. It's not like you have to avoid the 3. You can play the 3, although you want to be careful. Because where you play it, you don't want it to rub, because we're going to get into like a Middle Eastern scale, which isn't bad. It's just not what we want to do in this funk style. One other interesting thing about this scale, because it's Mixolydian, we have this major scale, but a flat 7. But if you know your scales well, a scale with 1 B flat would be F. So you could actually get by with playing the tonic key for that flat, which would be F. It would sound a little bit out if you do it like that. But if you can find ways to make it more interesting, then we'll get to that in a second. The next chord we have is this D9 sus. And again, it's a D major scale with a flat 7. So it's D Mixolydian. The chord itself is interesting. If we were to break it down, it's basically a C chord over a D chord. For the C chord, it's a B flat chord over a C chord. If you can isolate these notes right here, D, B flat, F, then G, and C. And we just move everything up a whole step. So it's a nice thick chord. Sounds pretty cool. When we're soloing with this, there are a couple of things you could do. I would highly advise that you do not use the blues. I would highly advise that you actually use this Mixolydian scale, which we haven't really talked about before, but honestly, it's a major scale, and you are going to just flat or lower the 7th. I'm going to play a little bit to help you hear how these notes sound in context. There's that flat 7. There's the other flat 7. So that major third doesn't sound too bad. But if you lay into it too much, it's going to start to get on people's nerves because of this is a really bad sounding interval. off a little bit. So you can really be ambiguous about this. You can use that flat 3. You can use that flat 6 if you want to. As long as you're not laying into it because of this sounds bad. So as long as you're not laying on that flat 6 too much, you can use it as a bouncing note. So there are ways that you can use that note. That's from the amp scale. 1, 2, flat 3, 3, 5, flat 6, 6, 1, and we're the key of concert C. And the thing about using the flat 3 is that you don't really want to hammer into it too much, because it's not going to jive with what we have done here. This chord is very rich, but as soon as we add a note that's out like that, it's going to be a little bit too much. This is palatable, the major third, but the flat third isn't, the same way that the flat 6 is not. So you can get by using natural 6, natural 3, and if you want to use flat 3 and flat 6, just pull up to it or pull down. That's flat 3, 3, 5, 6, 1. Another thing that would be nice to do in this song too is to explore your thirds, because we have big skips in here. There are lots of skips that are built into this chord. Which sounds really nice. Flat 3, 3, 1. So I'm going to play it again, and I want you to try to hear when I'm using that flat 6. But I'm not going to lay into it too much, the same thing as flat 3. And it's just a transition or a moving note. I'm not going to lay onto it, it's just a neighbor note. I'm just using it to get somewhere. Okay, here we go. Oh, stop it. Here we go. Idea. So it's not about playing and going crazy on this. You can, I mean, if you're skilled at improvisation and you want to just go crazy on these scales, go for it. But remember that breathing is really important. As a piano player, I don't need to breathe to play my instrument. I need to breathe in order to live, so that way I don't die. But I can play as long as I want to. I can keep going crazy, but I mean, there's a point where we reach oversaturation. There's too many notes, and you can't think about what you've been listening to. Make sure that you add pauses and breaks in your solo. Try to think of your solo like it's a sub-melody. And another nice thing about this chord is this solo section is because it's motivic, meaning we're moving up a whole step. Anything you do in this C9, the first chord, you could transpose it up and mess with it a little bit and get a little creative. So come up with a couple of ideas or licks that you might want to transpose up a whole step, and keep those in your short-term memory and just practice them and see how they work. And that'll sound really interesting to people as they're listening in the audience. I hope you got a lot out of this solo advice video. If you have any questions, you can leave a comment in the classroom page. Happy practicing.